Is working full-time as a mom all doom and gloom? Is the missing out that you're experiencing actually worth it? Are you actually missing out or just punishing yourself for not being there? These are some of the things that have swirled through my head as a working outside of the home mom. If these are some things that you have thought about, then this video is for you. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Julie. I'm an occupational therapist, life coach, and mom to 2 little ones. If you're new to this channel, I would love to have you as a subscriber where I talk about some of the harder topics related to motherhood. Don't forget to turn on the notifications by clicking the bell icon. In this video, we're going to tackle the age-old dilemma of trying to do it all, which includes working whilst being a mom. We're also going to talk about some of the lessons that I have learned since becoming a full-time working mom. Before we get started, I just want to put out a little disclaimer. I don't want it to come across that I'm against moms working. It's quite the opposite. If I had to choose, I would always be pro working for if that works for you. It's more about how you work, where you work, the flexibility. That's probably a topic for another video, so let me know if that's something you'd want me to discuss. I'm pro working for whatever works for you and your mental health and the benefit of your family. Just wanted to put that out there. So a little bit of history according to Julie. It was traditional in the good old days that women would get educated, start a career, and then they would get married and get pregnant and just kind of fall out of the workforce. And it was kind of accepted indirectly that women just wouldn't be promoted in the same way that men were, because it was assumed that they would get married and have families and then stop working. So then we get the feminist movement in the 70s, where it's all about you can do everything, you can be and do it all. So you can be the mother, you can be the career woman, you can be the homemaker, the whole thing. And women were kind of stretched where now they're expected to keep up with men, but they're still doing all the same stuff that they would have done had they just stayed at home and been a housewife. So the pendulum kind of swung the other way. It seemed like you got the two extremes. There were women that decided to stay at home and they were kind of shamed for being anti-feminist or not contributing to society or not being able to do it all like their peers that were having full-time careers and trying to mother. And then the women that were working so hard and trying to keep up with everybody never saw their children because they never went home at reasonable hours and probably felt that there was some kind of imbalance and deprivation from that end. So, where do we lie now? So speaking from my own experience, we've come a long way with regards to kind of equality in the home, with dads now chipping in so much more than they ever did, say 30 years ago. And I find that because there are 2 working parents, there's less of an excuse for everything to befall on the mother in these traditional roles. The mom going to the PTA, the mom doing the groceries, the mom organizing kids' birthday parties. Whereas nowadays, I think you'll see a lot more dads taking their kids to the park, attending school events, maybe without the mom. Maybe you get more dads, you definitely get more dads staying home with their kids while the mom works and the mom is the main breadwinner. So there's definitely a swing in the right direction, which I think is very positive. I also like to think that the dads who are now spending a lot more quality time with their children, whereas their fathers perhaps weren't spending as much time with them, are really embracing and gaining from the experience of getting to know their kids very young and not feeling like they're missing out. And I think that's a really positive shift for society as a whole. So I fundamentally believe in focusing on the positives, even though if in practical terms, this is not always what I do. But here are some of the things that I have learned since becoming a working mom. So the first thing I've realized is that my husband helps out more than I think either of us ever anticipated. We both came from families where our dads worked and our moms kind of raised us, and we didn't really have dinner with our dads as much. So I don't think we ever thought that we would be in a situation where we're much more parenting in an equal fashion. I'm not sure how much my husband really thought about that prior to having kids, but I don't know. I guess I kind of just assumed we would take on traditional roles. But I think compounded by the fact that we live very far from family in a new country, we don't really have that extensive familial network. It also just complicates things. So if our nanny is sick, one of us has to stay home, or if we have to do a school event, we don't have the grandparents to kind of shoulder that burden as well. So I think that also impacts how we partner and parent together, which I think is a positive thing, even though sometimes it's really hard to have kind of no help. And I find it really difficult to ask for outside help. So yes, we have wonderful neighbors that would help us and friends if we were really stuck and we have had to lean on them, but I find it really hard to ask for that, so I really do that as a last resort. If you would like to see a video on why it's difficult to ask for help and how I kind of combat this without feeling like I'm asking for too much help, let me know in the comments down below. So with all that being said, my husband went from having zero baby experience and little kid experience to being supremely confident with our children, to the point where if I wanted to go away for a weekend or a week, or and he would look after the kids, I don't think he would have a problem with that. He would probably encourage me to go because he has his way of doing things and I have mine, and sometimes it's nice just to have one cook in the kitchen, if you know what I mean. But it's kind of incredible how he has sort of skilled himself, and it's been interesting to see how things that are not always natural, that don't come naturally to him, he's learned our processes and all that kind of stuff. And I would say yes, we still have our natural inclinations for certain things where we feel more comfortable in certain situations. Like I feel more comfortable cooking and organizing the kids' stuff and buying gifts for birthday parties and I don't know, stuff like that. And he would feel more confident taking them out to the park by himself because he doesn't want to be stuck in the apartment. So we still have those kind of things where we have our preferences, but I think we can both independently look after the kids equally. So you know the saying, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. I think that working full-time outside of my home has kind of put that on steroids for me, in that I am an efficient machine now, and I have surpassed expectations from what I thought I could do. I mean, look now, I'm filming at 8:45 at night, which is very unlike me. I would usually be in bed, but if I want to get something done, I have to be efficient about it. Sorry about the siren. Welcome to New York. And I think it's an asset because when I was on maternity leave with my kids, with both of my kids, the days kind of blended into each other, and you sort of take it for granted that that's kind of how it is. And when you're working, your time with your children is very finite. You know, I know when I get home, I only have probably about 2 hours, 2 good hours, and maybe an hour of like meltdowns, who knows, but and I try and maximize that time with them, and I use my commute time to send emails, to do kind of personal admin online stuff that I can do to catch up with my friends, so that when I get home I'm more focused on my kids. And I think being away from them gives me that appreciation that my time is limited and I want to make the most of it. So along the lines of maximizing time or using it in the best way possible, we've also had to really schedule our weekends, because that is kind of the time when we have an opportunity to do errands. So get the kids a haircut, take them to the dentist, work out, go for personal appointments, all that kind of stuff. And so we've had to schedule our weekends, which kind of feels counterintuitive because you want to just go with the flow and be relaxed. But if we want to achieve certain things in the weekends, which are really the only days where we kind of are in charge of our own time, we really have to be smart about how we do it. But I think it's a really good skill. So even if our work life changes in the future, I think having some kind of goal for the day has really enabled us to meet some of the objectives that we desire for that weekend and get things done. Another thing that I think is a positive of being a working mom is that it just shifts your priorities. When I was at home all the time on maternity leave, I was really obsessed with keeping our house clean. I was really responsible for that. It all fell on me, so I was unnaturally or unhealthily obsessed with sparkly floors and the clean bathroom and all this kind of stuff. And with little kids around, it's just never going to be perfect. They're just going to mess something up. You're going to clean it. They're going to mess something else up. It's just the name of the game. So I think working outside of my home and focusing on them when I come home and not being so crazy about everything being neat and tidy. And this is going to sound contradictory because obviously I like to live in an organized home and I don't want to come home to a mess. But there's some kind of balance in between that where you're not crazy obsessive about how tidy everything is, but you're also just not living in a pigsty. You're organized. So I think it's helped me just to put things into perspective. I think perhaps the most important thing that I have gained from being a working mom is the mindset that it has given me. I've really surpassed what I thought was possible. I never thought that I would work full-time out of my home whilst having such young children, especially without a familial network. And whilst that comes with a lot of challenges, I think it has helped me strengthen my resolve that I can kind of do anything I want. Like if I can do this very hard thing, A, it's perhaps not as hard as I anticipated, and B, it just shows me that I have resilience. And I hope that translates to my children, where we can look back on this time and show them that we worked hard for them and for the future of our family, and we believe in adding value to society using our knowledge and experience and skills to contribute to something bigger than ourselves. And I hope that is a valuable lesson that we can convey to them. That being said, you know, I think I could make a whole other video about how challenging it is to be a working mom, but for the moment we're focusing on the positives. I plan to do a video all about a motherhood mindset, so assuming that this video goes up before that one, I will link the mindset video in the description box below, because I really think that that determines everything and really can make and break your life with having a positive mindset. So if you go back to the beginning of this video, you'll see that I asked the question, are your kids really missing out on you? Is it worth it to be away from them? And this is something that I want to discuss. So this is something, especially in the beginning, that I really struggled with. And I ask myself this question a million times a day. How much can I be away from my children and still positively influence them in the way that I want? How many hours can I be away from them and they still know that I am mommy? You know, it's very important for me. I don't know if anyone has ever seen the movie Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow. If you've seen it, comment down below. I'd love to know, because it's kind of an old movie now. But the concept is that, you know, you can go one way and you can go the other way, and you'll just never know what could have happened. But in the movie, you know, she has two scenarios that play out. So for me, ultimately, I don't know. I don't know if being away from them this amount of time every week is damaging or has long-term consequences. I suspect not. And I also don't know if I will work at this level in this capacity forever. So, you know, I'll never really know the answer to that question, even though, especially in the beginning, it really plagued me. I just want to encourage anybody that is in a position where they have to work full-time and they feel the guilt surrounding working away from their kids, to also understand that, you know, perhaps at this time of your life, the income, the flexibility, the benefits of a work from home position affords you is worth it at this time. You know, there's also something to be said about how people desire working and they want to work even though they have children. That part of you doesn't just die off when you have a kid. You still have aspirations and goals and interests that might only be satisfied by working in the job that you have, which is great. You know, I just wish for everybody that if they are going to work and be separated from their children, which is very hard, that they feel like it's worth it to them, that they feel that they're doing something positive for society, for themselves, that the money and the income is worth it for them, and that it's a job that they really love and enjoy. So now I want to ask you guys what your experiences are with working, if you have children, or what do you think about that? Do you think women should stay home when they have little kids? Do you think, you know, in some countries they will protect your job for 3-4 years so that you can return to work when your kids are a little older? Perhaps something more moderate like that in the United States would be a good policy, and I know some companies do that, but it's definitely not the norm. I would be really interested to know what your opinions are, because I grew up thinking that there would be no way that I would work full-time and have children. It wasn't kind of the paradigm that I grew up in, and now this is the position that I find myself in, and I think there have been some unexpected good consequences of that. So I just would love to know what you guys think. Please leave it in the comments below. I also want to point out that I don't think we agonize over men leaving their kids in the same way we do with women. And I'm sure there's some dads out there that don't want to leave their kids and would prefer to stay home. So I just thought that was interesting. I think culturally we don't think about the dads in the same way, and that can be good and bad. So I would be interested to hear what you guys think about that as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do that. You can turn on the notifications by clicking on the little bell. I would love it if you could share this video with anyone that you think may need to hear it, so that we can keep this conversation going, because I think it's very important, and I think it's the only way that we will be able to see change. Have an amazing day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!